Today, you're going to learn how to say your student's identity in the language of their heritage, Spanish. You might have heard terms like Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, or Latinx, and maybe be confused about which terms are appropriate to use in what contexts. So my first tip for you is going to be to listen. And when I say listen, I really mean two things. First and foremost, to listen to your students and their families and the terms that they use to describe themselves and their communities, because they are the experts on what is correct to use for them. Hopefully today, by going over some of these terms in Spanish, it will help you pick out when you hear those terms being used in conversation in their native language. And secondly, I'm encouraging you to listen to my pronunciation on these slides. If I were to explicitly teach the pronunciation in this video would be far too long. So I'm not going to break it down. I'm simply going to show the spelling. And in most cases, I will just say how it sounds. If you rely too much on the visual, it will most likely lead to mispronunciation. So I encourage you to listen to what I'm saying and imitate how I sound. And if you need to pause and back up, do that. So this first term, Hispanic, means anyone whose heritage comes from a Spanish-speaking culture, whether it's Spain or the Dominican Republic or Colombia. That's what Hispanic means. There's nothing wrong or incorrect about the term Hispanic. In Spanish, it sounds like Hispano and Hispana. And the one thing I will name explicitly, because you'll see it repeatedly in this video, is that the H in Spanish is always silent. So you will not say Hispano, you will say Hispano. You might be interested to know that Hispanic Heritage Month translates as El Mes de la Herencia Hispana. So the word Hispanic is used correctly in that term. Next, we have Latino and Latina, which mean anyone of heritage from Latin America. So this would exclude Spain because Spain is not part of Latin America. And in Spanish, it will sound like Latino or Latina. Again, we have the O for masculine and the A for feminine. And then we have this term, which is relatively new in the grand scheme of things, which is Latinx. And this term, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, this term was created in an attempt to be more inclusive of people of differing gender identities. And I don't believe that it's really accomplished what it set out to do. It doesn't feel like an inclusive term to me. I have never heard a Latino or Latina person use the term Latinx to describe themselves or anyone in their community unless they were absolutely fluent English speakers and very highly educated in English. This term has gained some criticism because in the Spanish language, X would never come on at the end of the word following a consonant. And so this term doesn't really honor Spanish heritage in its formation. So others have created this alternative to Latinx, which is Latine with an E at the end, which does honor Spanish language heritage because the E in Spanish can be gender fluid. It is either masculine or feminine. So this one works a lot better. All of these terms, Hispanic, Latino, Latine, are very broad. They really describe a big community that is incredibly, incredibly diverse. So while they are wonderful terms and all valid, I would encourage you to learn the specific nationalities and how to say them of your students, because this is often what people prefer. So we're going to just go down the map and learn how to say different nationalities. You can speed ahead to where you have students and skip the ones that don't apply to your student body. People who come from Mexico and Central America. If they're coming from Mexico, they would be Mexicano or Mexicana. From Guatemala, they would be Guatemalteco. From Honduras, they would be hondureño. Remember that that H is silent. From El Salvador, salvadoreño. From Nicaragua, nicaragüense. From Costa Rica, costarricense. And from Panama, they would be panameño. All of those that ended in the O for the masculine will change to the A to be feminine. guatemalteca, hondureña, salvadoreña, panameña, and you'll notice that costarricense and nicaragüense, for Costa Rican and Nicaraguan, remain the same because the E can be masculine or feminine. Let's go over to the Caribbean. Someone from Cuba is cubano. Someone from the Dominican Republic is dominicano, and someone from Puerto Rico is puertorriqueño. By the way, all of these terms, or maybe not all, but many of these terms also have a slang or less formal equivalent, but I'm not going to go into those today. All of these three are in the masculine form on the screen, and we can change them to an A to take the feminine form. So we have cubana, dominicana, puertorriqueña. Now let's go to all of the many Spanish-speaking countries in South America. Someone from Venezuela would be venezolano. Someone from Colombia would be colombiano. From Ecuador, ecuatoriano. From Peru, peruviano. From Bolivia, boliviano. From Chile, chileno. From Argentina, argentino. From Uruguay, uruguayo. And from Paraguay, paraguayo. All of these can be changed to the feminine form: venezolana, colombiana, ecuatoriana, peruviana, boliviana, chilena, argentina, uruguaya, and paraguaya. Gracias and buena suerte. Good luck.